part of that in. I think we make copies of that and then start to like, hey, like if there's different ways we want to apply forces to make them feel different, let's all at least use the same configurations so that we're like having a predictable outcome.
Right.
For like, I change these forces, you change these forces, they feel better on yours, but they actually are better because we have the same wheel radius and all that shit.
Right. No, that's a good point. And I think in general, the vehicles, like, oh yeah, so the earlier we can figure out the standard box, basically, right? It's better to give that information to Edward before he makes anything else. Because, you know, like they talk about with Saints Row, right? Like, you can have a little bit of, you know, things are slightly bigger outside the bounding box, but like there is still that expectation of the player, right? Like if I see a car that's a certain size or roughly a certain shape, it should, I know to cue into it that expected behavior, right? And I think in general we're gonna move to a more standardized art model as a starting point, where like if this is the mid-size car, like do your best to fit the meat of this mid-size car in this bounding box more or less, right? Like versus the big car is over here and the small car is over here, and we're not even there yet, right? So like definitely we should figure that out ASAP, and figure out that feeling and all that kind of stuff, and before we start making any new vehicles or anything like that. Well, cool. Okay, so we have, just to go over things. So for our vehicle physics, we want a simplified or like tailored set of physics that allows us to drive cars with a predictable experience where speed is kind of important. Where we can power slide, fly through the air, roll over, all in a chat room.
See, now hearing it, I want to roll so much of that back, because in the chat room aspect, like, okay, when it comes to rolling the car, I honestly don't want to roll the car. I would want the car to feel as, like, I don't know if sticky is the right word, but like, I want to go and be able to turn on a dime and know that, like, I may wobble,
right,
but I'm not gonna flip over. You know what I mean? Because like that, even if I like come off the car, is fucking. It's a jar. It's like a car accident. I'm in a car accident in VR, and as much as we can avoid that, the more I think like, okay, like in Rocket League, they have a very controlled system of like articulating, so that you land on 4 wheels. They have masks, all this shit to do that, to apply the proper forces. We could come up with that system. We do have to solve the issue of like the person floating over the car, and for me, it feels like it's like a stretch goal. It's not actually super important, because this is not like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I'm not like doing a fucking kickflip on my skateboard and then like want to land on the skateboard. It's like, this is a car, and like there might be other people on the car. So if I'm flipping this shit and doing prediction for all of this shit, that's where I'm like, ooh, why the fuck did I make this possible?
Right. Okay, so then, all right, maybe then the question has to be, can cars flip over? Like, can it happen? Because
I want to try for a world where it doesn't.
okay,
Where like as much as possible they just fly.
in that case, then though, I don't think cars can go in the air at all. Basically, like if you jump, like we're just not going to create a scenario where you're going to get air in this car. Like cars going to be like always we're going to be flat ground more or less.
But I assume that like. So, like, again, just putting the center of mass below the car changes a bunch of shit for aerodynamics. So that's, like, really not the case. But, like, it seems like we can achieve, like, staying upright and, like, figuring that out. And even, like getting air, to me, is a little different than, like, us being able to roll the vehicle.
Right.
Like, as much as possible, I would want those anti-roll forces to, like...
Right.
Put this car on as many wheels as possible at all times because it is jarring in VR to not see. Right. Now, like, if we're in the air, like, I just want to be, like, stable. And we can fake that. But I don't want to, like, I don't know if I want to flip and roll. Because, like, it seems like it's a whole world that we have to actually make feel good. Like act like a intended gameplay. We have to make the crashing feel like intended gameplay.
Right.
Which, if we can, I'm all for it.
Right.
I don't know how to at the moment.
Okay. Well, so I think what we can do at least is if we can make a logical statement. So we can say like, if cars can go through the air, then they're gonna flip over at some point.
Well, why?
No, like
in Mario Kart, like.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
That's a
like,
really good point.
We can very much like linearly fucking lerp you to where you need to be, and like you can still catch air, but all this shit is simulated. Like,
that's a good point.
I don't think, because I mean, like the illusion and the feeling of it is just you moving, but like physically, we want you to be like fucking stable, like rock solid, because the second you flip over, it's like, fuck, we have to get you off this car. We have to get this car upright. It's like a real problem once you flip over versus like in Forza, if you flip, like, let's just flip your car. But here it's like, let's flip you and your car.
Right.
And
so you mean like this kind of shit where like, you know, they're catching air, but like you're never really gonna flip over. Yeah,
you're never really like flying. Like there's jumps, but like this is very much like you're intended to like you can't fall short on that jump.
But like also there's a lot of reconciling when they like, you know, if Toad actually hit the nose, he would flip over, but like Mario Kart just says fuck it, we're gonna like resolve this and make you just like be okay.
A lot of vehicle controllers do this with like a separate aerodynamic component that like the second you are not grounded, everything goes over here. And this shit will handle what you are now, which is a fucking airplane. And it'll do all the right physics to keep you nice and like level until you're back grounded. And then aerodynamics doesn't like play a part as much. Like there's no drag, there's no that. So I mean there's a lot of ways for us to spoof it. But like to your point, like I think we can have it and make you land stably like Rocket League, like Mario Kart, just by spoofing physics. Because in our current day, like you would land and then your vehicles would be like, holy fuck, I'm rubber tires and I haven't been spinning the whole time. Let me start spinning with fucked up friction. And the state of the world today is like our vehicles catch air and then they flip the fuck out. Yeah. And I feel like what we want is this, right? Like you catch air, but everything is good. We know everything is good. Even if you fall, everything should be good, right? Like we kind of want to even make that okay.
Right. Okay. All right.
But I think to your point, like how are we falling? Like, is it
Right.
just back onto the earth, or is it like through the course, or is it like like this is like you're falling to your death. In our case, you're just gonna fall to the floor.
Right.
So like, there's a lot of ways for us to handle that.
All right. So I think what we can say then is cars should not flip over. Like, if they did for whatever reason, it's like something went wrong, basically. Like, that's they should not flip over. Doesn't mean that it wouldn't happen, but like, they shouldn't, and we could probably get it to like a very, like, it's basically bugged if it does flip over.
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's not a bad. All right. That's important. So we're in a world where you're driving cars that feel predictable, where speed's important, where you can power slide, handling is consistent, and you can jump through the air, but you're never really going to flip over. So you're always in control of that side of things. And it's in a chat room. I think that kind of makes sense. I think that more or less sounds good.
I mean, that's like a base assumption, and I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's like a decision for like the direction to go. At least for the base, like, we haven't even considered parts yet. We are literally just talking, like, because we need to first capture this before we can consider if so, how parts may or may not modify it. So I'm down for that. Yeah. Okay, wicked. So as a goal, that makes sense. So if we're gonna take a very high level stab at how do we apply that? How do we apply that? How do we apply that in logic, or like at least in certain design decisions? Maybe is the right term. So, like, for instance, you're saying forces are applied at the center of mass, right? Like, that's like a good starting point, because that keeps things pretty consistent.
I mean, so like, if we're talking starting points, I mean, we have a few, right? We have a few chassis, and again, as this is like let me just phrase it as a refactor. Yeah. We're really starting in concept, but we have like Lego blocks.
Yeah.
So again, input, let's just assume unchanged. We're still gonna get throttle, brake, steering. We might add extra shit, right? That also might be a thing. Like, we might need to add buttons for boost. You might need to add just, more robustness in the input we're sending over the network. Totally fine. But as far as the vehicle, it is one collider. Whatever collider we put in here will be treated as the physics collider for the car. Mm-hmm. Radius, we have a wheel radius set because we use sphere cast wheels, just for a slightly bigger, like, safer space. But now we're getting into the things from the video that, like, these are our parameters as of today. And I think it's good to go through them and see, do we need them? So, like, drift friction min-max? No, we don't want drift friction. We want, like, some sort of overall sliding force that has, like, some animation curve that we could tweak. And that's what we want. But to know that, like, hey, we have forward friction right now. That's maybe not what we want. We don't want side friction. But that's the current state of the world. We have spring dampers. But mainly to start picking what can stay constant in the shape, I think is our first thing. So, like, does this rigid body, does this box collider need to be bigger at all? Like, does this need to be taller for our vehicle feel? Because just me changing the size, our vehicle now feels different.
Right.
So, like, us dialing in like the box collider and the rigid body to me are two like independent from our vehicle script and our forces, two things that we have to do first,
Right.
and then kind of keep consistent amongst the team because we can tweak all the forces, but like these things actually tweak intrinsic things about whatever forces we add. So
Mm-hmm.
we gotta keep these shits the same. Um,
Right.
so yeah, first and foremost, if we can tweak this and figure it out on the existing drivable car, as shitty as they kind of are, I think that's best. And then we can start to get into like, hey, let's make this feel a lot better. Let's tweak all these forces. Let's start from scratch as far as forces go. Knowing that we have input and like the right size medium vehicle.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so um, okay. All right, so if we're starting from a point where we have, let's say, input, we have a vehicle that we want to start with,
Right. That's a good point. Scripturally, I didn't go through.
Yeah,
shit.
it's probably good to go through. Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, like you don't know how this shit works at all. Like, I didn't say anything. Okay, cool. The vehicle is where like all the vehicles forces, directions. It's just the controller for everything. It also does manage a little bit of like person exiting the vehicle and shit like that, but not important. To start, bunch of references. Again, that reference to the collider. We use a box collider. We could change that.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of settings. So our settings are somewhat modular. In that like it's just a different script and they all get applied. So like all of these settings that are over here, for the vehicle are all just in a separate script, the setting script. You cast the physics scene and some input handler shit, but yeah. This is rigid body and like determining normals pretty much. This we can keep kind of standard just for like where's the front and the side and all that shit.
Right.
Drift values, these get basically kept with the network input so we can keep more normal shit. So as far as dependencies, like, I don't think there's anything we have to touch here unless we're going to change state from a box to ladder. But other than that, all of that shit's good. Spawn just does a lot of configuration work to set how many springs we have and like what we're gonna do, and to like unfreeze the car when we spawn. Going into these, we just initialize the collider with certain values. So like no matter what it's set at, we make sure that there's only one, that the center is zeroed out, it's not triggered, it's enabled. Same shit, rigid body, right? So all basic shit in Spawn we can keep. Everything starts to get different when we jump into fix update network, which is like the heart and the brains of the shit. So obviously we got our base call, and if you're not the server, don't do shit. If you are the server, get this input. Vehicle input data is gonna have throttle, brake, steering. Just some old velocity shit. We just check that you have input first, because if you don't, we just set everything to 0. And we make sure that the car, we used to make sure that the car is stable, but whether you put input or not, we just run the physics simulation for the car. If you do have input, we will check it, set some flags, the car moving forward, backward, is it almost stopped, and then we'll handle certain input things like apply forward throttle if it's, again, above a negligible amount. Apply some brake input, certain shit to like let it ease off naturally is here. Again, all of this can be redone. Keeping these flags, I don't even know if we use this. other places. So, for all intents and purposes, all this shit does is get the input and set the input. Fancy way of doing it. And then we get to the forces. These are all of the forces at work for our physics simulation that get ran on every network. Can I zoom in? Fuck. All right. They are suspension, some anti-roll, stuff for ground penetration, steering, friction, which is the bane of our existence, and power, which is like force applied forward so we can do friction. Basically, we're in this state of the world, the complex vehicle state of like wheel radius, suspension, torque, all this shit, and we're trying to like be a simcade. It's not really working.
Right.
Yeah, I think again, knowing all of these forces are applied here, like if we wanted to restart, we just delete all these and literally put new ones, and the car will feel different. So, really, this is the core of it, of the car. If I want to go into like the specifics, we can go into each one, but like in general, this just gets ran every update, every network tick to like simulate what the car should do. Should it steer like this? Should it apply power like this? Should it apply friction, anti-roll, whatever? We probably want to simplify this to like 2-3 functions max.
Right.
To start. Like some forward shit, some left-right shit. I don't know what else. Some jump, like, you know what I mean? Like, it can be dramatically simplified, and we don't have to think about it like a car. Because I don't really think they did over here.
Well, they do
not
still think about like suspension without all that shit, right?
I think their cars slide on the ground a lot. So like, I don't think they're really like high up off the ground to simulate really big wheels. I mean, maybe they do, but as far as him talking about like turning friction, it's very much like ratios of different speeds. So again, I should probably go back through this and like really understand the physics part of sliding in Rocket League, because that's what we want to like at least take from this. But keeping these values consistent is more like whatever we dial in that feels decent, I think we should like lock it early.
Right. Which is fair, yeah.
So yeah, like I don't know how we want to do that, and even the size of this thing, I don't know. But that's where experimentation, probably like right now, would be the best. Just like tweaking these values and seeing how shit goes, and then like if we're even comfortable with some of those values, okay, well like this is still with our old forces system, but it's like it feels like it's better if we have something to play with than nothing. So like,
right,
if I just again take all of this out, right, and like delete the functions, this is the outline of a car that just needs forces. So this is kind of what we would all be starting with if we're gonna redo physics. Is like, hey, delete that, delete all that, right, except exit vehicle, and let's see, like, can we just make a better feeling car from the ground up?
Right. It's a good point. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of it's unnerving because like even like they both Rocket League and Saints Row were talking about how like essentially they took like they left all of the values in like a lot of these more complex vehicle controllers, but like a ton of them just remained the same, right? So they didn't take them out. They probably found a balance that felt good, but then they just never changed certain values. So it might mean that we need to keep the forces in our old force system, but like make them constant. Maybe we can get away with leaving some out. I mean, at least I think we know that we probably want to stick with the raycast-based wheel system. Like, that's probably a decent decision.
Yes. I think if we ever wanted to not, now is the time.
Right.
So like those fundamental core things of like, no, fuck all these visuals. Like, this is really all we have.
Mm-hmm.
Is this, right? Not even these wheels. Just this. And whatever version of this feels best, you're right, it's going to be with the forces that we have right now. Like, that's what we're configuring. So it's more if we can say that that's consistent across a bunch of things. So now we have to like put this to the test. If we fly and shit, does this work? Or do we need to like I've seen shit where like people don't really cast springs. They keep this rigid body on the ground and they move it.
Right.
And they find a way to make it interact with bumps and slide and make that work. So like, this is where I don't know what's best. At the pure rigid body level, I'm like, just assuming like, hey, a box collider and 4 dots, that is best. Because every car I see outside has 4 wheels and is box like in shape. If we're cool with that assumption, I have a system that applies forces that we should change some of those forces.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, is what we have. If we're not cool with that, like, because to be fair, we could get away with doing this with just 2 wheels if these are rear wheel or front wheel drive cars. That could double our car count just by only simulating 2 wheels.
Right.
You know, so I don't know what's optimal. Like, figuring that out at this point, I think is most important.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, so, all right, in which case, let's change the least amount that we can change in any code for now.
Yeah.
I think you have it right. I think the move is, let's just take this car, and we know that it felt the best that we had it feel as a starting point. Like, we can maybe tweak some of the values, maybe the center of gravity, like move it around, get a feel for like a couple of things. And if we just get on some point of it that feels decent, we then probably can think about simplifying or maybe even adding stuff in. That's where things maybe start to fall apart a little bit for me, because
for me, it would feel like if we're gonna change the forces, we have to like that's an early decision.
Yeah, we gotta like start over.
Because this shit is built around that concept. So like, it's hard to take it piecemeal and then like take its like heart and brains out and then be like, all right, let's put like new ones and have it work as intended. I think. Right. Starting from the box, like, I forget what video I was watching. They just literally showed, like, the rigid body box that they had sliding. And to me, that's kind of what we want. Like, just as the visuals of the car, but I need a box. I just need a box that moves. And we can make a car. Like, we can make it feel like a car. Because a car is just a thing that steers and goes backwards and forwards. So once we lock that in, people and the visuals will look like a car. We'll have a car, but we'll have a deterministic, stable physics car, which like I don't think we can get with the script we have. Like the script we have is giving us the issues we have.
Right.
That's also why I'm like, man, fuck all those forces. Like, let's just redo them and we'll all be on the same page and we'll all make sure they work.
Right.
And everything else we know works. We know input works. We know jumping on and off and switching input works most of the time. So As long as we change these forces as a unit, it should be good.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, alright, well, I don't know if there's much point. Well, maybe there's a point in experimenting with this just to get a feeling for what we might want to feel. But to be honest, I feel like even once we get that, we're probably still going in and like copying some things over to a new script, but like very much still starting from the beginning.
And by wait, like what do you mean?
Like
Start from the beginning.
Well, because by like new forces, we're maybe trying to turn like what was 3 or 4 things into like one thing, or like ditch certain variables that we don't want. Is that essentially what you're sort of talking about, right?
To a certain extent, like for instance, like right now, if I take all of these forces out, if I just go to the fixed update and take out the I already did, and I comment out like power, right?
Mm-hmm.
We no longer go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can just replace that with how it should feel, right?
Right, okay, that makes sense.
Friction. Well, we don't want friction like that. Well, if we comment it out, we don't have friction like that. But we don't have any friction. So we don't have any drift. We don't have anything.
Right.
But we can change it and put a new one in.
Right.
And I think we'll have to put new parameters and like kind of tweak and come up with a new vehicle physics. But whatever that is, whatever we can get to,
Right.
when we come here, we need to like make that shit a preset.
Mm-hmm.
And that saves us the rest of. We just know we have medium vehicle, and when we importantly get a new chassis to rig up, it's just like drop in, just put in this new preset, and we know it'll feel like a medium car.
Right. So,
Yeah.
So in that case, we're just updating those methods, basically. Or like
Updating or replacing. So like, we may not need certain ones, like anti-roll forces. Like right, like we have some, but it's applying the forces to like the rear axle, and that's not at the center of mass. So this shit is probably gonna make our car tip. Like, do we even need it at all? Like, I could just delete it. You know what I mean? And suspension, like, okay, we have it right, but it might be super fucking complicated. So it might just be like best to go from like, what is the simplest version, and let's just delete it and have a different thing. So like, to your point, like we couldn't replace these forces. I don't even know if these are the forces we need.
right.
This is like the point of like, when I started this, where I'm looking at another person's code and I'm like, well, this is the shit that we could take, and we don't really need some of this other stuff. But now it's like we have a list of what we need. We just came up with, this car has to do only these things. So whatever we can come up with that does those things is what we put here.
Right. Okay, so right now we have suspension, anti-roll forces, steering, friction, power, and what, I don't know what penetration. Oh, okay. Preventing
Like not falling through the floor.
Okay. Well, to be honest, let's ask a more abstract question of like, what do we want our cars to be able to do? And like from a experience standpoint, I think rocking and bouncing are two things that I think we do want. I mean, I'm down, like, unless you're...
From a physics aspect, I don't. From a visuals, I do.
Got
So,
it.
like, I would love to simulate that, like, to get the effect, but at the point that we start rocking and bouncing is the point that, like, well, our wheels are not making contact anymore.
Right.
And, oh,
Okay.
shit, we're on our side.
So, like, you're sort of saying, like, we'll have an animation where we can, like, it's actually called a blend shape, actually, but a blend shape where we can, the car can go left, right, down, up, and, like, that gets driven by whatever is going on, like, with this calculation. But that's just moving the model of the car and not our box. The box being the
Right,
rigid body.
Okay, yeah, it's moving the, like, visuals.
Yeah.
Not the like vehicle physics.
Right.
Rigid body. I just
makes
think that
sense.
gets us in our world where we're stable.
Mhm.
And we can have steering as tight as possible because
That makes a lot of sense. I do actually like, I like the idea of, like, the car can shift on its wheels all the way, but it's just visual. I mean, because that doesn't mean it's just visual. It can have implications for people riding on the car. But for the
Right.
physics of the car, the shit's not actually going to tip over. It makes sense.
yeah.
Okay, so, and then we can predictably define what the maximum and minimum of that looks like, because you can always define the limits of a blend shape. Okay, so I'm actually fine
Yeah,
making
and then,
that
like,
decision.
Okay, and then like something mapping that to like
Okay,
this vehicle controller is the only system,
right.
I think.
Okay, one sec, I'm just washing my hands real quick.
All good.
Alright, we're back. My bad. I was just had to eat that other half of the sandwich. I was starving. Okay, so alright, going back to the board for a second here. Alright, then what we can do is we're gonna say we're gonna fake rolling physics. So fake rolling / suspension physics via blend shapes that are driven by driving controller values. Makes sense. So the car model rocks and bounces, but not the actual rigid body. The square. Alright. Okay. That makes sense. So what else?
I don't know.
So, forces applied at the center of mass, fake rolling suspension. All right, going back to the forces that we're applying here. Right now, we've established we're going to eliminate roll force and suspension, probably, as a calculation. Well, we're not going to eliminate those methods. Those methods just might drive blend shape values or something. You know, they might drive something different.
I would say if we like first principles, like I could start over from scratch because again, like I really don't think anything that we have right now as far as physics is special.
Right.
Like,
which is fine. Yeah, I'm thinking. Go ahead.
Because I think it also might be overly complicated. Because these videos about the vehicles are like, hey, start with the simplest thing possible.
Yeah.
And we started with like driving vehicle with wheel colliders. We did not. Like we started with like a pre-made implementation, then we tried to make our own custom-made version of it, and we never simplified. And I think actually starting with like, let's just get moving forward and get our strategy for moving forward. Not like what we have, because like if I look at it, okay, we're doing like some speed limit tech and we're applying force at each wheel.
Right.
Holy shit, that's terrible. Like, what the fuck? Like, already, like, we don't need any of this shit. We need to rethink this from scratch and just apply one force at the center of mass. Like, so, like, we could either delete this, to your point, or just, I don't know, you might not even want to look at this. Just fucking start over, right? And figure out, like, let's move the car off of our new rules. Center of mass, force. Okay, cool. Well, then how would we design that? Is it like we have some force to acceleration animation curve that's what we use to like tweak this? Or is it something else? Like how do we actually tweak it? Is it just a value or like the constant force? Like what's up with this force? Like I think to even just break our forces down like that, like we never did that. Yeah, so to do it with like forward and then backwards, at least we have those two things in the bag. Steering is its own thing because there's like, it's like vehicle steering where it's like we're following the like Ackerman steering path. Well, we currently have that, and we have a system of modifying it, so we might just keep it, right? Like that might be fine. But what wheels are powered? What wheels steer? Are these cars 4-wheel drive or like? We just assumed like, a bunch of shit. Yeah.
Because if we're applying a force at the center of mass, like to accelerate, then how is steering is calculated can be totally different. You might have to change the direction of that force. Like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like you're literally twisting the whole body to like move in that direction or something, because you know I can assume that at least this vehicle controller, because the forces are applied at all the wheels, when you turn the wheels, if it's like 2-wheel drive, like, you know, it's the back wheels are still moving and then the front wheels like turn it. And if it's 4-wheel drive, like the fact that I'm turning the wheels, the forces are now pointing in a different direction, right? So
yeah.
I mean, we may be able to throw out the way that we do fucking, you know, power, probably. And then that just means that steering becomes a different fucking thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to get some sort of, I really want to implement this friction system. Like, whatever they have going here, like there's traditional models when you look at this for like vehicle physics and shit, like Podeka's curve and all this fucking math, ugly ass real physical math. That's what we're doing. This is something else that like, it looks simple as fuck, And it looks like if we try it and just try to configure this system, well, we might solve our drift problem just by doing it different. So new friction system is like my one, like, hey, we have to have something like this, because if we do want to go in the air, like our current physics system does not work with the air. And we're trying to do like anti-slip and all this shit that we don't need to do. Let's have a simple friction system. Okay, cool. So we have our new, very much simpler acceleration system or power system. New friction. If we're okay with steering, let's look at steering. We don't know shit about steering, so let's look. Steering uses a turn radius speed curve, which is the animation curve. So this thing over here is how we modify like steering, and also the turn radius. Honestly, this one is pretty straightforward, and we have a visual for it. Like, I'm cool with keeping steering kind of similar. I think it does only turn the first two wheels.
Right. Does that make the assumption that the wheels are now applying force in a different direction, though? Because if the wheels are...
I think, but that's because of the way our wheels are, not because of... Like, this is just orienting the forward normal for, like, those first two wheels to, like, apply the forces in that direction. To your point, whatever this new, like, forward normal is between these two directions is what I want to actually apply at the center of mass.
Right.
So, like, there is tweaking, but just as far as, like, two wheels steering together and us using Ackerman math, I think that's fine to keep.
Makes sense.
That's just turning. Or maybe we don't keep it. Like,
no, it makes sense.
This is also where I'm like, there's like a lot of, it feels like dependent shit, even though it's really not, just because it's all there together. That, like, I don't know. I really, like, we shouldn't be afraid to just be like, man, fuck all that. Like, just restart, because I think we can do it in a day.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But working off the scaffold's not a terrible idea, you know, because at least we know the structure, how it builds into itself, you know, even if everything changes. So, like, I'm down to follow this vehicle controller as a structure, but, like, we can change everything in it, you know, and just keep the husk of it.
Yeah, well, there are some things, like, intrinsic to it that we might want to change, namely, like, applying forces at each wheel. Yeah, like, no, we don't want to do that. Maybe these wheels just tell us information and keep us upright, but, again, we apply all forces at the center of mass. So, yeah, whatever it is, this is kind of it. This kind of makes sense how it works, though. Like, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it makes sense. Like, so, to be honest, I don't know if I want to break ground or try some shit and then break ground. Because I feel like any experimenting that we're going to do with this car controller is kind of a bit moot, because we're just going to change the forces anyway. So, why don't we plan on doing, like, we're going to work from the simplest, smallest things up. So, like, we should just start over with this script. We comment out everything except apply, what was it? Apply throttle or whatever the fuck, apply power, whatever.
I literally think you comment out everything.
I know, except the one that makes you go first, and then you change that force. So, like, basically, what I mean is, like, if you go to the whatever the fixed update network update is, all right. So update, you comment out everything except update power. And then you go to update power and you change it. So we go to update power and we change it from the wheels to the center of mass. And I know we can't steer, I know we can't do anything, but we just feel like if I were to hit the acceleration button and this car goes forward, how does that feel? And then we add in, we uncomment update steering, and we change it to make it work.
Yeah.
And then we make sure that those two things are cool and work together. And then we can, like, you get what I mean? And then we can, like, now we have two things, ideally, right? Like,
I think you're gonna fight a lot of shit because there's like suspension being applied at every wheel.
yeah, but we're like, but I mean, it's
and
like,
like you know what I mean? Like, it feels like there's a lot of shit that happens at every wheel, and then we're gonna like
yeah, so,
try to like. I don't want your because the car won't even be up. You know what I mean? Like it'll just be a box on the ground that like.
Right.
I don't know what I'm saying, but I feel like first we have to get the car to work and be idle. I think before we even move forward is like idle. And then your point is super valid because the way this was constructed was like first these brake casts have to like keep the car up and then we can start to apply that friction force. So if you comment out everything, I don't know what happens to anything else.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in which case then, maybe we just start with a new vehicle controller script from zero. And we just turn all of these into single center of mass, right? So we like, the suspension just acts on the vertical axis from the center of mass. Throttle acts on the horizontal center of mass, and that's it. And then like we can work on steering, and steering like changes the front angle of that or whatever. But like that's it.
Yeah, from scratch. I think that might be the best, the best way. And then visuals again will make work after the fact. But pretty much once that's good, and we know like, hey, these cars don't fall through the floor. There's no way to spawn and not drive. Right? Like those basic things that were like, hey, I spawn a car. I even put a car pre-made in the scene. It fucking works. Once we know that that's good with our physics and initializing all of that shit, the world is our oyster as far as like what else. So, yeah, I literally think just deleting those forces at the bottom and redoing them in whatever order we think is best is actually best.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
As far as KT, what do we do? What do we do?
Okay, so KT, let me text him, see if he's available.
Give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
All good.
Years ago, I had a premonition that started it all. I saw what death was about to do. I saved a lot of lives that night.
Everyone needs to get off the dance floor!
Lives that were never meant to be saved. But death doesn't like it when you mess with his plans.
This book, it will show you everything you need to know to keep our family safe.
It all started with Grandma. Death is coming for us because we were never supposed to exist. What?
Only by embracing death will it pass you by.
Maybe death's not actually coming for our family. Because that would be crazy.
Happy Groundhog Day? Is it Groundhog Day already? Also, I love the idea that like we have all of this technology, like we have like the power for like flying cars and like solar panels, and yet we still let a rodent decide our weather. Groundhogs are rodents? I like to pretend they are. I also call squirrels rodents. Are squirrels rodents? Wait, squirrels are members of the... What is this term? You know what? I have this power.
Sirurity. Sirurity.
Sirurity. Interesting. And that includes small or medium-sized rodents. They are rodents! Okay. Now let's see. Are groundhogs. I think they're just animals. The groundhog, also known as the woodchuck, is a rodent of the Sirurity. Oh my god! I'm so smart. I am the smartest VTuber that ever walked this earth. It's a big rat! I know my animals. Yay! Learning with Amma! Welcome back to Learning with Amma. Happy Groundhog Day? Is it Groundhog Day?
What the?
Oh, yeah, just happy birthday. Let's see if Havoc can bring this back. Almost has 5 meters. This is actually terrifying. Oh my goodness. Happy birthday.
You better wait till I get up. Alright, shit. I'm sorry, but you didn't kill me. You didn't kill me, bitch. So guess what? I will fuck you up. You better know it. Get it or not. You got the car. So guess what? I got gold for you.
What is? And I love this flip.
Ray, show me who did it. She kind of bad though. Is that Frost?
Mortal Kombat X. This was 2015. 11.
What the fuck was that?
What the fuck was that?
I will give you one more chance, Rom. I will give you one more chance. I fucked up.
What the shit? I haven't seen this Light Arrow. Honestly, it's one of the greatest parts of MBCI. It's so much fun. What am I even looking? Somehow, in this crazy scramble, they realized. You fucking shitting me? Yo, what? This shit is crazy. Holy hell. Explain, Arthur gets a shield block attack in MVCI, right? He's timing it to Strider's orbs. So he's deflecting every single orb because they have a specific timing. They always hover around the same time. Somehow in this crazy scramble, they realize that. That's crazy, dude. Just times it for every single orb as it hits. You don't plan for this kind of stuff. This is what makes MVCI an incredible fucking game. Is that weird, crazy moments happen this. You don't lab it. You do not. You just have an idea and you try it and it works sometimes. That's what it, honestly, is one of the greatest parts of MVCI. It's so much fun. What am I even looking? What's this? What the fuck? The dumbass! The kazoo! The fucking shit! The kazoo! Oh, damn it, man! Oh, that was funny. That one was good.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me...
You would think that that's choreographed.
Let me give KT a caller. Oh.
Yo, what's up? Yeah.
Yeah, KT is alright. He says on in 1 second. Fuck, I didn't even see that. Well, cool. I guess KT's gonna join in a sec.
Oh, good. But yeah, I mean, like, basically fucking around with these cars is day one. I think, again, a lot of it is intuitive. Like, we just want a car that feels nice and drives nice in the smallest world that we will probably offer.
Right. Okay. Hold on, let me ask, which one... So, you watch Rocket League?
Yeah, that's really the best one, I think.
If so, just hop on right now. The second one.
It's me.
It is not as important.
That's nice. Yo, quick question. Do you have that list of the like the shit we're about to change on this car?
Yeah, so it's
I was about to drop it into Claude with the script. Just be like, what would
fair
you
enough.
do?
To be honest, the only two major things that we noted were absolute changes, technically. Were forces applied at the center of mass, which I think you know already. And we're gonna fake rolling and suspension physics with blend shapes, but like, so we calculate those based off of something, either wheels or something, but we don't apply it to the rigid body. We apply it to a blend shape. So those are that was really it.
All right, bet.
So I guess calculate the same suspension, but normalize it to a 0 through 1 value. Or -1 to 1, whatever. Fucking.
All right, I'm ideated with Claude real quick.
All good. Let me try and get KT back in here.
What's up?
Yo, hop in the lounge. If you watch the if you watch the fucking Rocket League one. All right, you're cool then.
All right.
Cool.
Let me do that.
Alrighty, welcome back.
Yo.
Okay. So.
Yo, I just saw this mirror. My fault.
No, it's all good. My bad, man. It was. I literally just.
the one you picked up.
I just put a fucking couple of. Just put a couple of sticky notes on it. There's not much on there.
Where's that round, like the round one that you picked up from the subway station?
Oh, you're talking about a literal mirror. No, mirror like the mirror link. The link in the.
Oh.
No, the mirror. Hold on, I'll show you that.
No, but he did pick up a mirror for real. I remember that. Yeah.
He picked up a mirror from the subway station and carried it all the way home.
Yeah, I saw
like
the mirror.
It's like a nice one.
Yeah, it looks nice as fuck.
Yeah, here's the mirror.
Yeah, it's a little crack. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. That one.
No, I still gotta hang it up. So I gotta make some time to do that.
What's up, KT? How you doing?
Pretty good. Got my phone fixed. It's nice and neat.
Oh, lit. Turned up.
Yeah, I've been surviving without my phone basically for several days. It's kind of tough.
Not in New York. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. Dude, it's just I'm so bad with like directions. Like whenever I go out, I need my phone. I need my like Google Map on all the time. It's just me.
But you also just moved to New York, right?
Yeah, I don't know the way around, you know.
Yeah, like it takes a second, and then once you get it, like you'll know it forever, man.
Yeah. Well, today is a great learning experience because I walked for so long outside without a phone, and I learned to get road signs and find my places. So it was good.
That's right. There you go.
Had to happen at some point.
Yeah, I know, right? Life will force you.
It's so different walking on the road without the phone. It's like you look at so many different other things, whereas versus you just like look down. I'm actually gonna try to do that more often.
Right, like pay attention. It is.
It feels nice. It actually feels nice. Having your heads up.
Facts.
Feels refreshing. How's
the car vehicle world? Yeah, man, it's been good. It's been good.
That Rocket League one was so spot on. Like I feel like a lot of it's like spitting out gold for us.
Yeah, straight up.
So many of it.
Yeah, that's like kind of what we have. Like,
yeah,
here.
The problem that we're facing is the problem that they're facing, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Except we don't need to be that accurate.
Right, for like competition, we're not really there. So like, even like our fixed hurt time like is a lot bigger, and we're not really worried about like vehicles, like soccer.
My bad.
And
My bad.
and
I just
like
totally cut myself on that fucking mirror.
Oh,
I just sliced my finger open. I had to go and like
what?
dress it real quick.
Wait, you literally cut your finger.
Yeah, I think it's a little more dangerous than I might have thought. I was like putting it down, and I like because it's a little cracked in some places, and I just went here and like sliced my like this whole thing open. So I just had to like, we're good though. Okay. Yeah, my bad. So yeah, I think you were already in the middle of explaining it a bit, but so yeah, here's the deal. KT, do you have access to this mirror, Miro, or I can? It's in the lounge chat. Yeah.
Okay.
I
should.
All right. Well, when you hop on, I'll.
Password. Confirmation. Let me cook. 4296. What kind of work do I do? Walk around. Alright, I'm in.
Cool. Alrighty. So, just look at these things up here. So just give some. There aren't that many fucking sticky notes, but so you understand what's going on. The yellow ones are like absolutes. So they're like either something that we absolutely require or just like a consequence. Like we're gonna allow this absolutely. The blue ones are like important things. Like these are very important. And then the pink ones are like actual technical things. So anything technical, anything we add to this plan that's actually technical implementations are just all in pink. But so a couple of rules about our physics world that we're gonna live in. For one, Cars can go through the air. It's just a matter of fact that if we allow people to have like any elevated surfaces or hills or jumps or anything that's a ramp, we have to accept the fact that cars are going to go through the air. So that means that we have to handle cars going through the air in somewhat of a graceful way. Number 2, cars should not flip over. We're not going to allow cars to actually flip all the way over. If they do,
always recovers.
Or they don't actually get to the, they're never going to actually like the actual rigid body of the car is never going to turn itself like more than 45 degrees, like ever. And now that doesn't mean that that's not theoretically entirely possible, that like, but if a car flips for some reason, like you've fucking broken the game somehow, basically. Congratulations, you've broken the game. Right? And 16 cars is going to be the starting limit that we consider. So we worked back from this, assuming one like pretty crucial thing, which is that we should decide that if we have a lobby of 16 people, there should be 16 cars. There should be always, anybody could spawn a car for themselves, more or less.
Sure.
Now,
one and one on.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah. Like, if I spawn a car, like, we make the assumption that if I spawn a car, yeah, like, I'm allowed to spawn a car, basically. Or that there's 16 cars available so that there's one car for everybody. We can sort out, like, how we'd want to handle that maximum limit, but at the very least, we should make that, like, 16 is our starting point.
I think one car per person, and like it's almost like you are the key and you spawn a car.
That's a better way to say it, actually. I've been at 1 car per person. Yeah, per person minimum.
16 player lobby.
No, just we can like fuck the player sizes for a second. It's just 1 car per person per minimum. So.
Wait. So at least 1 car per person?
Yeah, just like at least. Like, so
I would say right now it's cool to put a hard limit and say you can spawn 1 car because we have a way for you to change that car into another car.
Okay.
So
shouldn't it be maximum?
Okay, so we'll call 1 car per person. We'll just say
I would say if we try 1 car like per person, right?
Okay.
Maximum.
Wicked.
Then we're saying 16 person lobbies. That's 16 cars.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to try for higher? Like set 30.
We're good. I mean, 16 cars is fucking chaotic.
What's the room size for like Blobtown and those sandbox social things?
It was around like 15, 16, I think.
Yeah, they go from as low as 16 to as high as 64.
So 64 is like the peak of that.
Now, I think basically we came to this KT on the assumption that like if I couldn't spawn a car it would kind of suck. You know. So at least using that as a constraint at the outset is okay.
All right.
And then maybe, who knows, right? Like we say fuck it, 16 cars is fine. If people are really upset about the fact that they don't have a car when there's 16 fucking cars in a 32-person lobby, like, whatever. But that's way downstream. At least we know that we need to think about it probably at least 16 cars from an optimization standpoint.
Yep.
Because of 64 wheels. If we find a way to make that simpler, because that's kind of like what we're dealing with, is like how much time does it take to calculate physics for a wheel? So if we kind of eliminate the concept of 4 wheels or can work around it, right, or simplify it in some way, then we're able to have more cars actually. So that's a possibility at this stage also.
Right. So, those are the must situations. That's sort of like the world we live in. Now then, moving on to what's important. So this is more like if I'm driving a car as an individual, what is important? The biggest one being predictable vehicles. So like, I should know what I'm getting into. So if I'm getting into a big car, I know what that experience is like. And I know what I can predict, like, this experience is going to be like driving it, basically. And what that effectively means is standardizing. So if we have a big car, a little car, and a medium-sized car, we have 3 ways that every car in the game is going to drive as a basis. Right? And when we actually develop this, we're going to start with 1. We're not even going to start with big or small. We're going to start right in the middle. And we're going to find the most average version of this experience and make that predictable, right? Sure. So a lot of constants. A shitload of constants. All right, number 2. Speed is important. Now, what that really means is we need to, like, understand what the fastest feeling is. Saints Row talks about this a little bit towards the end of the video. Well, basically the perception of speed is sometimes more important than how fast you're actually going. But like from a technical perspective and also a design player perception, like we need to know what fast is to us. And give players a way to get to fast. Quite straightforward, you know? Next one. Very important. Get Set Go has power sliding, not drifting. Let me just explain the difference.
Sliding.
Yeah. So the difference is power sliding is just a different mode that you enter in the vehicle, as opposed to like a consequence of friction and like, you know, like losing and
Side
slippage.
friction, fucking, yeah.
So
Like
like
the
think
normal car.
Mario Kart when you drift, you know, the car is still going the same speed. The car just pops on its side and now you have a slightly different steering profile, but that's what power sliding is, right? So for us, power sliding's the same. Wait, did I? Oh fuck. Like.
I already like this idea.
Okay, cool. So, well, we can figure out I mean, there will just be some way to enter a power slide, but in essence, power slide's gonna like change the steering, like the whole driving mode, to like slide. And then that's going to handle in its own way, right? And then you can go back, right? All right.
Yeah. I think parts is the key for this mode.
Sure. Yeah, to be honest, we're making this whole thing without parts right now. And the reason for that is, we had a discussion at the beginning, I'm glad you brought that up, that parts are going to modify this experience in some way. But we have no idea how we're going to be able to modify it and what's stable and what isn't until we find what is stable.
Right. So we do the experience first, and then we figure out how to modify it.
Exactly. With parts. And like how far we can go, essentially.
So we'll just, if we need to, we'll map the fucking power mode to a bunch of, like, first.
Right.
We'll do that. And
Right.
just to see how it feels like.
Exactly. Alright, the fourth one. Cars should work in as small of a space as possible. What I mean by that is we're doing this whole game at the outset in a chat room. Right, so this isn't a circuit. This isn't like this isn't some road that you can go infinitely on. Right, this is not some highway. This is not some GTA level sized map. Right, like... And if you play a lot of Demolition Derby kind of games, one of the biggest complaints can be that it doesn't feel like you can get your car, like, all the way to its max potential, because the moment you do, you instantly hit a wall, right? So the reference that we kind of thought about this was if you look up clips of Mario Kart like balloon battle, right?
Oh,
that
I played it.
Right. So that's a great example of something that it takes place in, you know, like a confined arena, but you're always feeling like you're always, you know. Well, it's big, but it's also what's important is that the car handles in such a way and drives in such a way that you get up to like the maximum speed of the car quite quickly. You drive it in a way where you're always feeling like you could operate at that maximum speed, like with power sliding and shit, you know? It's like you feel like you're using the maximum potential of the car. And so we want this whole system to be calibrated for whatever our smallest space is going to be. Whether that's 1,000 by 1,000, 5,000 by 5,000, which is the ramen bowl, like we'll figure that out, but we need to calibrate it for that smallest space. And handling needs to be consistent. And so that's like goes into predictability, basically. So if I'm driving the medium-sized car, I have the medium profile for handling. If I drive the big car, I have the big profile for handling. If I drive the small car, I have the small, you know, profile. We don't go chassis for chassis for chassis on these handling things. All right. So with that in mind, the two things we have right now as far as technicals, we're going to do off the bat, for sure. Abino will be able to go into like actually a little bit of a initial plan for this more. But the big one is we're going to start by trying to simplify forces. So right now we apply all the forces of driving on all four wheels. We're going to consider everything in regards to the center of mass. We're going to find a center of mass. We're going to set it in a place that we like. And we're going to just say if you drive forward, we're going to apply a straight forward force from that center of mass. Right? Instead of 4 forces from 4 wheels. Right?
Well, that's essentially turning it into a rigid body.
Right.
Just like a block.
Yeah. And then number 2 is we're going to fake suspension entirely. So how this works, and at least the initial plan for this, is suspension will not actually do anything to the rigid body. What suspension will do stuff to is the actual car model. So, the way that we'll achieve this is, I mean, again, plans might change, but assuming that this decision is a good one, we'll use a blend shape, where like we can rock the car all the way to one side, rock the car all the way to the other side, and one side being 0, the other side being 1, 0.5 in the middle. And then like we'll do calculations for suspension and like rocking the car, but those suspensions just drive one value, which is a 0 to 1 value of that blend shape. So like you're either going left or right. And so we get all of the luxury of like feeling the springiness and the rocking, but we get a lot of control because we can set what the maximums are. So like the car would never actually rock more than this side, at least the car model. And then also that's not affecting the actual physics of the car at all. Under the hood, the actual rigid body is staying perfectly flat. So like the car could turn on a dime, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so about this, if we separate the visuals from the collider and rigid body, say I want to grab onto a car. The projectile is supposed to hit the car. Is it the rigid body collider that we hit, or is it the model that that takes the hit.
So I want you to think about the rigid body collider. Like if Abina, if you open up Unity, just to show the green box, that like we have currently.
Real quick,
yeah.
Just wanna. So I don't know how far you made it in the video, Casey, but so I don't know if I even shared this part. They're like applying the forces at the center of mass, like. So currently, like again, we apply 4 forces on each wheel, and we do a bunch of independent things to each wheel, which is expensive as far as physics goes, and not fun, and not really controllable or predictable. So like, again, they go through the example of like how they flip the car, but this is the example of like when you apply it at the like center of mass, it's pretty stable, right?
Like the same height to prevent it from flipping over.
Exactly, and like we keep these parts consistent, but then it's really just we're applying one force. So even the concept of wheels, but they achieve this wobble effect just through animation. So it's like there's a way that we can still get that force and make it feel like it, but we should just do it with visuals. But yeah,
you're saying essentially we don't have wheels on them.
To answer your point, oh sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
Please answer his point, because I don't know.
So to answer your question about the colliders and shit, what we'll do is those colliders, you know, will be basically parented to the, you know, that body of the car. Right, so the basically like the body of the car, but not the rigid body. Right, so the model of the car. So like the rigid body will be this constant hidden thing that is its own like basically isolated component. Right, that the model is parented under.
The physical world.
The
only interact with sort of like the ground.
Well. Yeah, I mean, if the car like runs into something or things like that, like we'll apply forces and stuff like that, you know, back to the rigid body. But that's just a rigid body. The driving controller thing is what I'm talking about when I'm saying what's isolated. Yeah. Like when the car decides to rock and stuff like that, we'll have colliders that are components of the model of the car, right? And those things can get shot at, right? You know, those things, so like, if we have a mesh collider on the car or something, or like a box collider, if the car rocks like this, the mesh collider is going to go with it, but then any, like, collisions that hit that will still contribute to the car's total rigid body, right? It's just that they're not going to affect the driving specifically, right? Because the driving system is going to be a stable, like, rock, basically.
Yeah. So it's like on another layer.
Right.
That doesn't.
Right.
Only takes collision and nothing. Collision with like other splatters and nothing else.
Right. Yeah. So like, what we can do is we can still have all of the fun, like effects of what happens to people who are riding on top if like the shit like rocks to one side, or you know, all that stuff. But for under the hood, the car's not actually going to go all the way over, because we're decoupling like that experience on one end with what's actually happening underneath with driving.
Alright, one quick question on that. So, when we think about projectiles, for example, when, like a sphere, think about it like a physical sphere, it hits the car. It's like a bomb, like a cannonball. Which part does it hit? Does it hit like the visual collider, or does it hit the rigid body of the vehicle?
The visual collider.
So it does not affect the rigid body in the physics way?
I mean, we can, if we want, we can do some
But
like.
I think if it does, it should be like a very predictable. Yeah. Essentially, like, oh,
like
I hit
straight
you.
back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we apply it at an area, right? But we know that it's a predictable effect, or that it won't do something because it's not pure physics.
Yeah.
It's more like we're invoking our version of physics.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So we would translate that into like some predictable. So like, I mean, there's a couple of ways we can do it. Like if we wanted to go Mario Kart, right? Like I get hit by a cannon, I just slow down. You know, we would just say, okay, I get hit by a cannon. Let's just apply a straight linear force backwards to slow you down. You know. Or next complicated way up is like, okay, let's just apply like a straight linear force, like sideways, you know, or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, whatever collision is handled by the visual of the car, which sends a message to the rigid body of the car, giving it a fake physics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yippers.
And so the visual of the car, the visual collider of the car is kinematic, basically. Like it takes collision, but it doesn't move.
That's right. I mean, it's still all one rigid body at the end of the day, but yeah, they're two. It's like two sides of the same coin. Like one doesn't deal with driving, the other does. But they both, like, the one takes collisions and the other one doesn't.
But then why do we need two? Can we just make that one thing do this?
No. Wait, what do you mean?
So like, if the visual of the car body is the rigid body, we can still do the same thing. Whenever collision happens, we just do some handling of it. Like we don't need to make two things.
Yeah, but by two things, what do you mean?
Wait, hold on. Because like this is what the car is.
Yeah, let me.
Like, as far as like what we're trying to say, physics-wise, if we don't change the shape, right? If we don't change it to a sphere, we're saying like our car is just this box in this box collider, and it has visuals that like again are mapped to, right?
It's more about the shape. Right?
Yeah.
We want a box for the rigid body, whereas for the mesh collider we can be more precise.
So, I think a good example is like this car. It's still just a box, right? But the box is like at the wheel and it's lower. And so this car doesn't tip over even though it looks like it should. And when it does rock, because the center of gravity is below the car, it like rights itself up. But it looks like it's one wheel, right? But it's really these four wheels. And I think what we could actually do is make it one force. I don't know if we need these forces to hold the car up, or we can do it with just one, like the capsule collider does. Like, I think we can really optimize it if we think about it. And if we just do that for, like fuck the visuals, just for like only this, and we can get this consistent for our three different sizes, then we can make the perfect systems on top of that to make it look good, feel good, and collide properly, and be hitbox appropriate, lag compensation, all the things that it needs. But like,
gotcha.
As long as we get this right first.
Yeah. So like, in the hierarchy, I know I gotta like zoom in a ton here. / probably.
Then we better make
so.
Better make like a more complicated car model collider to test.
So to make it pretty simple, like the root object is the rigid body, which is that square, like the driving thing, right?
Sure.
And parented to that is the actual car model, right? Everything underneath like this line is all like visuals now, right?
Okay.
And so the car model has this collider on it, which is the car model shape, Or simplified, could be a box collider. Don't really give a fuck, right? It's the hit box, right? But when this thing gets hit, right? If I were to shoot this thing and it gets hit, that's still going to register on this rigid body up here as a collision, right?
And it does like a fine-tuned physics.
Right. And then we say, okay, let's maybe apply some, fine-tuned physics back up. But the point is that, like, this car model, like, if we're going to use suspension or anything like that, where the car moves and stuff like that, we're not actually going to do, like, physics values. Like, what we're going to do is we're going to do, like, an animation or a
animation.
Yeah. And drive that based off of whatever we want. So it's like, even if the car model, for whatever reason, decide to, like, clip into the ground or something, it's not going to die, you know? Because the car model doesn't, like, it's not worried about that kind of stuff as much, you know? It's not going to sample that physics in the same way. It's only
not
listening
in charge.
for... Yeah, it's only listening for really specific stuff. And then it's not going to flip over, right? Because suspension is capped in, like, a certain way, and it doesn't actually affect the center of gravity and the mass and all that stuff, so...
I wonder if there are any other games that do this.
I'm pretty sure Rocket League, right, Abina? For the most part.
They do this?
Oh, what's up?
Like, Rocket League is kind of basically, this is their system.
You mean? Oh yeah, like, that's where we got this from. Like, this is purely from that video. They put a lot of gems in about, like, hey, they kept math the same so that they can just like predict certain things, because they had to do a lot to, like, have the aerial physics be nice. And earlier in this, we were like, yeah, the cars should be able to spin underneath you and do all that cool shit. And, like, I feel like we could work our way up there, but we really actually have to work our way up there. We have to get our cars to be, like, extremely stable on ground. Then we have to introduce instability if we want that in any way. If we want the car to fly, okay, let's introduce that, and then get to that point of, like, the intuitive flying control. Because I do feel like these cars could really, like, take flight, and we could really create some control systems that could work with that. But it's, like, literally in steps and levels. Like, we have to go back to, like, this script, our vehicle script, and I was watching work through this, but in the fixed update section, pretty much just a section of functions where there's just a bunch of forces. Let me go to the original. And we can, if we want to just start over from, like, a force perspective, just delete this and, like, really rethink this whole thing. Like, delete all these functions, because all they do is supply forces, and let's just come up with different forces. We already have, like,
are you sharing your screen? Because I'm not seeing it.
What? I am not sharing my screen. Oh, fuck. That's crazy. Dude, I've been sharing my screen this whole time.
When he said this a couple of times, I was like, I don't know.
God damn it.
Sure.
God, no. I was showing a Rocket League video, bro.
I was like, he might just be saying, like, you know, like...
Yeah, I thought you were just referencing it, you know?
Fuck. Okay. Yeah, but basically in this script, in our vehicle script, in Fixed Update Network, I just deleted them. But right here is where all the forces get applied. So we really only have, like, 6 forces at play. Steering, friction, suspension, anti-roll, ground penetration, and, like, our power. But this is all being applied to, like, 4 wheels. And we don't have to do that. So just deleting this and rethinking it, I think we would be better off. But the one thing that I would think in the strategy of us might be helpful is to pick a shape and a size for, like, our rigid body and box collider, because these things affect those forces without us, like, being able to control it. So if we can just pick, like as a team, like, hey, like, let's try to make this work with whatever mass and whatever values, and pick that size of box collider, then everything else should be consistent.
Yeah. But before that, just one question on steering, because that's my biggest worry when it comes to like using a simplified system, because steering is a complicated result of these wheel collider physics. If we just do like a simple rigid body steering, like what is the equation for that? Like what are we updating it to? Because right now
we have to find out.
Oh, because right now it's basically, because the car, when you think about it, it's like if you have a character, like that's completely different from having a car. Like turning a character around is so different from turning the car around, because the car has basically linear wheels that go in one direction, and turning the front ones sort of leads the back ones in a way. And having wheel collision is the only way to make it feel like a car.
See, I think we could spoof a lot of this. So like, right now, to your point, we turn these wheels. And we have like math that simulates this to like Ackerman steering, which is a thing in real cars. So like we're trying to be like a real car right here, and it kind of feels that way, right?
But we don't need
but it limits us from like drifting properly, because now we have to drift like a real car. We have to lose traction, you know what I mean? Like I think we more want the picking of the like new forward like direction to apply the force of regular steering, but we don't want to apply it actually at the like wheels. I think we just want like the net result of what that would be applied to the car, so that if we need to like make you slide, we can just disregard that and make you slide and have a really cool visual. Because like where this falls apart, and where something like Rocket League shines, is in the way they do their friction. It's not realistic at all. Like, but they made it feel realistic, and because of that, when you jump and you hit the ground, it can be a very smooth transition because it's all fake. Whereas for us, if our car leaves the ground right now, it's gonna come down and like try to hit like rubber wheels that haven't been spinning. So we have to simulate like spinning wheels in the air to like come down. Like there's a lot that like we're trying to fake once we do it for real, that if we just eliminate that and go with the simple version, then we can tweak it up to feel real. And I think that's actually what we should try to do, to your point.
Yeah. I agree. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, sounds like a good plan. So we're gonna work from scratch, or are we gonna use some of the car controller stuff? Which one do you think would be easier?
Easier is using the car controller stuff, because 30% of it we would have to rewrite anyway. So the stuff for input. So in fixed update network, so really if you go down linearly in the script, everything above up to where the forces are actually applied, we're gonna keep. Everything after might be deleted. So like it could get really simple real quick and still receive network input and like work with like the vehicle interaction system and jumping on and driving, and like that system is independent of this. So this is just the forces to the car.
Okay.
So really they all get applied right here. So if we want to change them all and i.e. start from like 70%, take out 70% of the code, we would just delete this, and then everything that's unused also delete. And we have input, and now we can apply the forces however we want to do it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think going plans. Right. So plans.
I think it's more like our development style.
Yes.
Like, how do we feel about doing this work? Like, that's what I first want to get y'all.
That's a good point.
Opinion. Yeah.
So I think I really do. I think the approach that the guys, I mean, both take, where they find, like, first they find all the constants of their like driving physics forces. Basically, they like create the constants about like mass, about like center of mass, all that kind of stuff. And then they build up from like variable to variable to variable, and test each variable like individually. I think is a good move. So in general, I think our approach should be starting from input, like you said, starting from the simplest version of the car. So like a vehicle that just sits, and then we make that car go in a straight line, and then we make that car steer, right? And and then we like, I think once we have those components, we can like, we're kind of off to the races, and we can start adding in additional variables, like one at a time. But like the point is we do them one at a time. And as far as how we actually go about that, like what's the review process, what's the like what's the sort of sprint process, right? Like how we want to move through this, who's in charge of what, like do we split this up, do we do individual components and then bring it all together, does one person responsible for everything? Open to ideas on that side.
I think
it is one script. So
yeah, I've been thinking about this. I feel like, okay, it's one script, but if we get 3 versions of it, does that make us better or worse? And in this case, I don't think it makes us better. So like, in the process of working on it, you know how when it's crunch time, we always work on the same branch? Like, if we just make a branch for this and literally are on the same branch, I think the ideation and the testing and like getting the right values and dialing it in and testing it in a multiplayer sense could be really quick. And then once that is okay, there's probably things that we could do separately. Like, okay, well, I need this script and I need to like mount the visuals, and that's independent. Or I need to take this script and I need to, I have no clue. But it feels like we could break after we kind of have like our baseline vehicle box and forces.
Yeah.
Then that vehicle is effectively set. We have a preset for it. We can break to our regular branches and continue as proceeded, because I'm sure there's avatar stuff KT has to do. I'm sure there's whatever else that we have to do. But like, we shouldn't all know that coming from that branch is a stable car.
Yeah.
I think that's simple, but it does require a lot of time and coordination from us right off.
Yeah. I feel like all the functions that we're gonna discard from the car controller, we can have separate scripts for them. So in the future, we draw from other scripts instead of keeping it in one car controller. I mean, the car controller is still in charge of everything. Like, don't get me wrong, like, still in charge of the vehicle movement as a whole. But this way, we can split up. Say, I work on steering, you work on collision. You know, we can split it up that way. In the future.
I mean, in the future or now, because like now is the future. No, but
yeah.
Basically, like
now.
we're redoing it right now. Yeah, like, so if we actually want to do it like that, no problems either. I don't have a great idea of like the setup or maintenance of like it. So like a vehicle, right, would be, hey, we put this vehicle script on, but somehow this attaches like the other necessary components and sets them up by itself, or like the person rigging each vehicle has to set up each script on the thing.
No, so this will be, so whenever you put the vehicle controller on, it will automatically add all the other parts. The other parts, they will not have parameters. They will not have basically like things you need to manually put, because they are essentially functions. So think about it as like a passive processor, like a handler. So when you look at the car controller, like you'll see like the functions inside. It's like handling, suspension, handling whatever, raycast, handling. Like these functions each can be like a script. Is what I'm saying.
Right. So like again, we attach this vehicle script, and this attaches a bunch of like vehicle data, like
and I know how to
no
do that.
reference thing.
I know how to do that. It's like a component thing. It's like a Unity editor thing.
Like required.
No, yeah, like the like, yeah,
like require component. Yeah.
I'm more saying, is there any like benefit that we gain from like actually like other than the organization, which I think is important, but is it like, are we able to conditionally apply these things, or like does this make our vehicle system more modular in a way that like, oh, like when we do want to build something on top of it, it's just
I think it makes the structure more clear, if anything. Like if we want to say one day we want to modify how vehicles, react to collisions because we had some bugs, right? Then we go to that single script and change it. We don't go to the main one big script.
I guess it depends, right? Like, I think this exercise is a lot about finding what is constant and what isn't. So, if we, let's say, like everything in the vehicle script for the most part is constant, but like a few values drive some things, like I would be comfortable putting that in like a configuration file, like a scriptable object or something. But like I think to Abina's point, I think what you're kind of doing is you're creating a functional pattern in an object-oriented language, because you're separating data from functions, but we don't necessarily need to do that, because to your point, all of them are going to be added anyway because they're all dependent. So like, yeah, you gain a little bit of like organization in the sense that each thing has fewer lines, but we can just break this vehicle script up with regions like we do with like the event bus, for instance, just to keep things a little more organized.
I mean, to be fair, because I do like the approach of like, hey, like aerodynamics is a complete independent system. Collision, don't they? Suspension potentially is don't they?
Yeah.
Like,
that's fair.
But we kind of have a structure for that, and like they're not other components, they're other classes. So like if we can break it down to classes, I think that works too, because we have like a car settings class that somehow gets mapped to the vehicle settings. So it's only one component, but there's different like settings that come from these subsystems, and that's super clear, and that's a separate script. I think that system makes a ton of sense and makes it like logical what our car is. Our car is this power and aerodynamics and friction and whatever. So I'm totally fine with that. I would prefer it to be like the class-based thing, so it's still just one script that like the person rigging just puts one script and never has to worry about components. It would be the simplest.
Okay. So, yeah, we can do classes.
Yeah, but I like that. I like the separation. I think even if we want to like, hey, that's how we refactor it right now. Like, I think that's that's a great start, because then we will naturally know, like, these are our 6 classes of systems that make up the vehicle. So yeah, I guess, how do we feel about separate branches, one branch, or like, how do we want to start this? What feels right?
Okay, well, assuming that we want to, we're going to be testing very iteratively and very quickly. If we're not, we're doing it wrong. So easiest way to do that, probably to minimize version control, fucking it all up. So one branch for what's developing this, and we switch to that branch to test it whenever we're involved in it. So KT and I are probably going to be just living on that branch for a while. And then Albina, because you got other work that you need to do as well. As needed, you can swap into that branch to, maybe test or maybe even edit some stuff, whatever. But we'll live on that one branch until it's done.
Got you. So
until the basic
collected.
Yeah.
Got you. So like one branch, and we all kind of coordinate and hop in there and make changes and commit as necessary.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That works.
So I think KT, in general, we're gonna have a lot of conflicts if we're working on the same script at the same time on the same branch, right?
Yeah.
So when we're working, we can just work at the same time, to be honest. And we'll figure out the rhythm for that. But like, I think what it'll be is we just work at the same time whenever we're working on this thing.
On different stuff.
Yeah, but
And
still on the car, yeah.
And I just feel like the goal for us doing this together, though, also is just to get to like really this configuration, not even really the forces at work, because once we've broken that up, that actually can be broken up.
Yeah.
But like, even getting that structure, like that has to be on the same branch. We just have to get that right together, get these rigid body values right, and like honestly be able to spawn and test, because that's where we lose a lot of time. Is like, does this work once we spawn? So, I mean, I can contribute to that as long as it's just one branch. And then literally once we have spawnable, drivable, I think even as long as the forces are split up, we don't have to actually work on the same branch, because it is kind of a handicap to a certain point.
Yeah. So yeah, I think once we get to the point where we can comfortably decouple everything, like you said, Abina, I think that's right. Like, yeah. But I think it's also good to have that handicap in this moment, because it forces us to work like together, or at least like KT and I, for instance, together, like at the hip, basically, so we don't miss any changes being made by either person.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of this discovery, especially with like the configuration or forces or anything of the like, requires like us knowing everything that is being changed and tried and seeing the feedback for it kind of in real time. So that sounds good. And yeah. To be honest, I feel like if we do this right, we can get this component out. Like, this should just be a tomorrow job. Like, this pure part of it.
Which part are you talking?
Like, literally just setting up the rigid body and the, like, a very initial refactor, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I mean, like, look, I'm not putting a day on it. If it's not tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's not this week.
But let's aim for that. Let's aim for that.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we work I want to make sure we are actually working on different parts instead of writing two versions of the same function.
Right, which is
so
fine,
we need to talk all the time. Like, what are you working on? What am I working on?
yeah. Yeah. We'll get going and yeah, and just it's also just for a lot of testing. So we'll get that done. All right, cool, man. Well,
so let's make it,
bro.
No? Have you?
Why does no one uses Rider? It sucks.
Yeah, how good is the paired programming shit?
It's probably ass. Let's be real. It probably feels like a code interview, but I have used it. It's like Miro, but code. Like, I don't really know how to explain it past that. Like, it is the same, and it is very efficient. It's two minds working on the exact same thing.
Right.
Not saying we need that.
No, it's not a bad idea, to be honest. I mean, I would download it just to do that, to be honest.
Hey, man. All right. But let's make that branch, and let's make sure, like, we have something stable on that branch. I have a lot of probably weird changes, so we don't need to use me right now.
Right.
I have like packages installed and different shit. So
Okay. Who wants to make
maybe one of y'all has a stable? Yeah, like I don't know who has.
Right, because good point. Because we pretty much don't have since fucking last week when everything was fucking breaking.
Yeah.
I don't know, y'all. I don't know who has the most stable thing. So.
Wasn't it staging?
I mean, there is a branch that is called stable, but I don't know if there was changes made.
I know. Well, okay, so I remember when we broke everything, but then we rolled things back, we got through the bullshit, and then we pushed things to, I think it was staging?
See, look at the... Okay, so this is what I pushed as stable.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of changes after.
Right.
So I'm assuming this is the most stable thing, because this is what was used last.
Wait, but no, so all the changes you made, are they like unstable? Because ideally
they're not
you want to keep your changes. At some point we're going to have to merge it.
So we can start with my shit. I just literally have changed a lot of these values. Just randomly for the purpose of illustration in the past like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is fine. We're gonna rebuild the system anyway.
But we had a nice version of the car, which I do get.
Correct. Yeah, like that's more where I'm like, well, we don't have that right now.
To be honest, remember that's assuming 4 wheels. That's assuming all these things that we're gonna change anyway. So it might actually be good to just have to start from like, let's make a thing with one force. You know, like not even have that bias in there.
I think we need the exact state of the world that we had that was drivable.
Fair enough.
We could see stuff. So let me get back to that. I just like a few changes, right? I just undid that. I'll save this thing. I'll commit this, and then we just pick a new branch name, right? Main/whatever we're doing. And we can get it popping there.
Alrighty. Fair enough.
This is Cloud Save. Player Connection Manager. This is good. So now that you guys have this new Connection Manager, you should show up in our DAUs. So that's also exciting.
Yeah.
We only have one daily active user right now.
You're...
So
we have 3. That's crazy.
We're getting on our way to 1,000.
Yeah. It's the first dollar, man.
We're gonna hit 100K.
Fucking right. All right.
I think we've done a lot of the painful pavement jobs. Now it's the fun stuff.
I hope so, man. Live ops is not fun. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is not fun for me right now. Like, this configuration shit and, like, all of that shit.
I guess
so necessary.
The last part that's, like, maybe not that fun is to make the vehicle work. But after that, it's all fun.
I hope.
But, you know, this is sick. Like, we're creating this new vehicle system. before we were using somebody else's card controller like this. This is new.
Yeah, isn't that's the story of fucking game
That's the
design, isn't
speed
it?
there.
It's always like you think you're gonna be able to do something out of the box, you use it, you realize it sucks, or it doesn't work for your use case, and then you have to end up making something yourself.
Yeah.
Damn.
Alright, so
What do you want to work on, Rourke?
I am going to work on I think let's just get on to that branch, and what we'll do is we have to start with one thing. So we'll start with one person, like either you or me, whatever, and we'll start working on it together. And we just have to get the car like with a linear. We have to just get a force the throttle first. Well, actually, sorry. First, we just have to get the car to sit, basically, on the road. So like
with suspension?
branch.
Like a fake suspension?
Yeah, literally. But it has to work. So like the car, the most important thing is the wheels don't go through the floor, right?
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of like truth to those wheels. So like that's a good example of like we may fake the body, but the wheels have to like still sit on top of the floor, and that shit.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, so we still have wheels?
Well,
I don't know. That's the thing.
I don't think.
Do we have to? Like, I don't know. Like,
no. Okay.
Wheels are a visual.
Yeah, the visual of wheels, or the visual of something that touches the floor. How about that?
No. I think we're missing the visual. Doesn't matter. We need the logic of something that touches the floor, not the visuals.
Yes.
Yes.
So like
good point.
Right now,
good point.
Good point. Using forces to hold it up, right?
Good point.
Is this just a block sliding on the floor?
If I were you, I'd remove the fucking wheels right now. Like I'd like disable them, and then try to make it stay on the ground. If it does, then it works.
What do you mean disable the wheels? Like the visuals?
Yeah,
or like the red.
The colliders, like the raycast shit.
That is what's holding the car up. What do you mean?
Yeah. Wait. I thought we need a new system for that.
You're right. And this is what I'm saying. What is our new system? Is this on the floor, and we don't have anything holding it up, or is there something holding it up?
I was asking about steering earlier for this precise reason. I'm getting the impression that we're gonna remove the wheel raycast system, so it becomes a floating block, sort of like a hoverboard sort of deal. And then we are gonna try to make it feel like a vehicle through some, faking, essentially. But the first step to that is to make this hoverboard actually hover. So we need a new raycast based or whatever based system that keeps the vehicle always at the level sort of above the ground and floating.
Yes. And so do we want to do that with one raycast?
Yes, I think that's the goal, right? Otherwise we keep the wheels.
Okay. Great. I love it. So let's do it with one raycast. And that's our new fundamental change, right? Because now this is fuck that whole system. That whole system is dependent on four wheels. So if we say, hey, it's one, cool. So we can remove these forces. This block will be on the floor. To your point, first step 0, levitate. Now we have to ride it.
But there's
or use what we have.
There is a very, very big issue to this. I don't think with one raycast we can get the steering ever. We need multiple angles for the steering to actually steer like a vehicle. Otherwise, why do you think other vehicles have 4 wheels? Do they
Wait,
just, like,
so
wanna
are we
quadruple-
talking suspension or this
No, he's
car
talking
being
about
at a
literally
certain
steering.
car physics? Car
Yeah,
physics.
which Rocket
So-
League, I believe, is 1.
No, they still have 4 wheels.
No.
There-
Visually, they have 4 wheels.
Yeah, but no, I do think logically they still have 4 wheels when it comes to steering. There is no way you can do 1 wheel and it does this.
So
Well, why not? If I'm
they
just turning...
have 4 wheels, but they're not applying friction
Yeah.
at 4. So like that's kind of the distinction. They apply friction as a unified force at the center of mass. But you're right, there is 4 wheels, and there is a wheel size that is confined. So we have that,
Okay.
but we apply our forces at these little green boxes, and that is very bad for what we want to do, right?
Mhm.
So we want to apply it at this blue box, wherever the fuck it is. Right now it's inside the car. We would love it to be at the floor, even at the actual height that we want this shit to balance at. So it's as stable as possible. But to your point about the like levitating, we have 4 wheels, and we're calculating the force to make it levitate based off those 4 wheels. If we're always gonna have 4 wheels to find out where 4 wheels are, then we don't need an extra 1 for the raycast. Let's just assume we'll have 4, right? Because we have 4, so we don't have to go to 1. That's
But
fine.
if we don't, then what's the point of?
Well, wait a minute. So, just to make sure I understand. So, Abena, what you're saying is, we think that, fucking car soccer, Rocket League,
right,
applies forces at each wheel for forward forces.
No.
They
Can
do
we
1.
look that up right now?
No.
Literally.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought they do 1.
At the center of mass.
The center of mass, right? Okay, so that's the most important thing, AT. So that, like, they are
Is
still
it
applying
for 4 wheels?
No.
No.
Hear me out. They apply forces at the center of mass. Doesn't mean they don't have forces on their wheels. That's 2 different things.
But what are you?
Okay,
They have
I push
forces
the
at
gas.
height.
I push the gas. Where is the force being applied?
No, think about steering.
No.
How do
Forget
you
that.
apply
Forget
forces?
that. Forget that for a second. Assume I'm.
I don't care about gas
No,
because gas it's fine. It's the same thing. Like,
Hold on.
You can do 4, you can do
Assume
1.
No. We gotta start. We gotta start with what we know. We
Because
gotta
this
start
is
with
the
what we
current state of our world.
Did you see that?
Right. Wait. This is the current state of our world.
Yeah.
We applied friction at that green box based on these factors. We apply different levels of friction and different levels of torque. That is the like main component moving our wheels. Sometimes we will turn these wheels, right, logically, and split the forces, but still this is all that's happening. Friction at the bottom of the wheel. That's like the contact grounding force moving the car. All of these things result in that. And they're saying, hey, kind of try to break away from that. Because that leads to a more realistic car, right? So like keep mass constant and break your friction up into different forces than the standard car. This is what we want, right? But this is like calculated at the wheel, but they're saying they apply it at the height of the center of the mass. Are they saying that they don't apply 4 wheel forces? I don't know. I don't know if we can just get away with applying 1 at the center.
They apply it at the height, but not the center of the mass. The height of the center of mass. See, it's still on one side.
But my thing is like we're still gonna. So if we apply it at the height for 2 wheels, that's our force. You're saying that's our steering force. Height of whatever our center of mass is. We're trying to have our center of mass below the car, but okay, clearly we have to have it at the actual point of the car and apply our height, our forces at that height. But for 4 wheels like we have now, or as a just resulting force, that's where I'm confused.
Is there any point in the video where they clearly indicate how many forces they have, or like how many are they using wheels or not?
My confusion.
Yeah.
I'm caught between. My thought is what they did is they used the wheels as reference points to calculate a force that's then applied at the center of mass. So it's a single vector, but the way that vector is pointing and like how much it is based on what is calculated at the wheels. But what you're saying, KT, is that it's still 4 wheels where the force is actually being applied, but it's just they're shifting it up to the height of the center of the mass.
Yes, that's what I think. Okay, Roar, let me ask you one question.
Yeah, okay.
I have a cube.
I love it.
Cube,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have the center of mass.
Yes.
I want you to apply one force to it
Yes.
and make it turn like a vehicle. Is it possible? Is it like physically possible?
Yes. 100%.
How?
Okay, if I have a cube. Okay, fuck it. Let me get paint out.
Draw it.
Yeah, let me get paint out.
I challenge you to this physics problem.
Okay, yeah. So imagine this is a 2-dimensional square right now, right? Okay. All right.
I see your point, KT.
All right, hold on. So if I'm applying if I'm applying a force straight up.
You already lost this.
If I'm an idiot, let me sort it out for myself. If I'm an idiot, let me sort it out for myself. All right. So if I'm now pushing this fucking cube straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying if I wanted to turn like this way, right?
Yeah.
Me simply applying a force like here doesn't turn this corner that way?
You don't have that. You can only do it on the center of mass.
No, but the center of mass is here. It doesn't mean I can't twist the force that way.
Yeah, you can, yeah, but it has to go from the center of mass to that.
That's fine, but like...
Yeah, do that. Okay, draw that. Right now, what do you have? You have a force pointing that way.
Yeah?
So, the car is gonna go that way.
Oh, you're
saying
this thing's not gonna like, this corner's not gonna come around.
Yep.
Is what you're saying. Okay, I guess that in that case that makes sense. I guess I was drawing it through. I was thinking about it through the whole thing, like aligned with it. But I guess that makes more sense. All right, fair enough. So in that case, then yeah, I guess they do have wheels or something. They have a way to apply force, like in this direction. Yeah.
So maybe we don't have to delete everything we have, right? Maybe we can't refactor to 1, but we should pick a standard place and rectify this center of
I mean,
mass.
to be honest, though, like you could just rotate and apply the force. I don't know. Like,
still, when you rotate and apply force, it doesn't move like a vehicle.
I don't know.
Because, hear me out. Vehicle physics is more complicated than you think.
Yes.
Because...
Evidently.
Look at...
I don't actually think it's not complicated, KT, just to let you know.
It is hard.
It is. I mean, there are whole industries that make billions of dollars based on it.
If you simply rotate the thing and apply a force this way...
Yeah.
It's gonna do like a turn like this and start going that way.
Yeah.
Which a vehicle doesn't do.
I know.
It doesn't turn in place.
It turns
Matter of fact, for vehicle wheels, these 2 wheels don't rotate.
Yes,
they stay in their own angle and they follow, sort of just follow around.
Depends if you have steer by wire, but yes. Yeah, so you're saying, you're correctly saying that steering is on a radius, right? So it implies that, like, if I'm driving in this way and then I turn the first thing that turns is the front of the car, and then the back of the car follows it, basically, and that's what makes a turning radius.
Yeah.
All right, so we probably do have 4 wheels with wheel collider, with raycast still then, but maybe the only difference is that we change the height at which it gets applied.
Essentially, that's what
They
we're
changed
actually
the
trying to
height.
say.
They changed the height to keep the vehicle from flipping over, but we have more complicated issues for vehicles. That's just one edge case they're trying to solve by changing the height.
But also,
how
I think they were
it actually
eliminating
works.
friction on the wheels too, though. Like
Eliminating friction.
Friction is it just applies straight back on the
Yeah, which that part is fine. Like, essentially, they are moving all the friction vectors. They're not moving. They're like combining all the friction vectors, put it on the center of mass of the vehicle, which is fine. But we still have to figure out sort of like the turning angle, and the. No, I need to think about this. I'm talking out of my ass right now.
I mean, but like, okay, we're not starting from like
It was a threesome.
here.
Yeah.
Like, we have something.
My point is, we still need wheels.
Okay, well, we have wheels, so that's great. But there's something wrong with them, right?
Yeah.
So, to identify first what's wrong with them, let's first like find out how they work. I don't think I really went in depth there. There's like a lot. There's a lot of shit. Suspension, right? That's kind of what's keeping them up. And mainly it's this system. If you look in the settings under suspension, this spring max rest distance and spring strength and the damper strength, it's just set for all of the wheels at one time. But basically the rest distance is like where this vehicle is going to stimulate it at idle. So like the height offset with the floor. So if I change this to 0, what the fuck? Alright, if I change this to 0, you'll see it's at the level of the box collider. It's like at the floor.
Right.
And so this is the offset for like how tall is the wheel, basically. So if we can lock this in, that's a good value for us to be able to lock it. Also,
okay, so
before we even
if
get
you look
there,
on the left of the screen,
these
there's
axles,
sort of a bar.
like how far in the front and back, affect so much shit. So you can start to
So
see
the rules
with
of
our
VR are
steering
try to
radius
avoid force
visualizer,
motion. If you have to do force motion,
that if
try
you
to
move
make it
this
be
back,
slow. If it has to
like
be
it
fast, try to
fucks
make it be
with
predictable.
not only the balance of the
Camera
car,
shake is none of
but
those things.
the steering radius.
So don't do this.
Again, we have some defaults. They're kind of like based off of this
The
car.
model.
Yeah, model. So for us to just lock it in, even high key without the model, is
So this random
really what we want to achieve. Without any of this
So the
shit,
rules of VR
what is best?
like Perlin, what it really feels like.
So like one thing that we haven't even played around with is that this is very thin and flat. Might handle better if it's taller, right? Like there's a lot of shit. There's a fuck ton of parameters really that as a working vehicle I think we should first make the change of, hey, let's just shift where we're applying the forces. And then let's now try to see the new state of the world. Might be cool. Might be a first step in the right direction. Also just changing these values to something better, making this box collider bigger, rigid body, whatever, right? This is the experimentation that's probably like jumping into play mode a lot.
I'm gonna get banned.
Yeah, I don't know how we want to go about this, but suspension wise, I guess
like our car controller might already be doing this sort of like calculating all the frictions and then integrate them into like one force and applying it on the rigid body. It might already do that, like, because that's the first intuitive thought. Maybe it doesn't. Like, we need to double check what it already does to decide what to throw away.
I know it does pretty much everything on every wheel. So I know it does friction, I think, on every wheel. I think it does suspension on every wheel. I think it does...
Does it like put it together at the end, though? Like, after it calculates every wheel?
I don't think so, I think, because that's just the updated suspension method, right?
Yeah, can we go to that?
Man. So all these things get applied at each wheel. So first we cast it, we handled like ray cast, collision stuff.
Yeah, and then how does each wheel affect the rigid body is the part I want to see.
I think that's just the result. Like, what do you mean? Hold on.
So for example, steering, right? It does like a calculation on every wheel, and then eventually it has to affect the rigid body some way, right? Like, how does
friction? Remember,
Correct.
friction is the only
explain this.
Friction is essentially like the resulting
apply
every
If
force.
the game involves aspects
Right.
random.
So now, great. After this for loop, right,
Is it
we have 4
possible for
wheels,
one
and
player
each wheel has like this
so
applied
lucky
forward
while
friction,
playing that
applied
game
side friction,
that
right?
we can
All right.
say with
Great. Now we
mathematical
have
certainty
these
that they
wheels
are officially
loaded with friction. Like, how does it
lucky.
change?
This
How
is
does this
actually
change
the most
the behavior of the
video
car?
topic
Like,
I have
what's the
ever
part?
had, because just
It's
over
this,
a
right?
month ago,
Get point
there
velocity.
was some big
Can we go to
drama
that?
in the Minecraft community. One of the most popular
Because I
games,
suspect
called Dream,
that
got over
this
15
is
million
basically what we've been talking about.
A nice kind of introductory level.
Get point
and
velocity
They released a 29-page
is
PDF
doing this
that
centering
went through it
friction.
in, I would say, a rambly level
Wait, what do you
of
mean?
detail. The starting point was some observations from other
Okay,
speedrunners
so, like-
that Dream had had very good luck with the ender pearls and blaze rods across 6 consecutive live streams.
Like, go to that function.
So for going
in
forward,
October
right?
2020.
Yeah.
They then did the same calculation that we did with the binomial distribution, combined them the same way,
Sure,
and
any of those.
got
Like,
the
get
10
just these get
to the
functions.
negative
Like, get
23 probability.
So we're
Add
adding
force,
forward friction.
add
at the
position,
point.
add
There.
position.
In fact,
Ah,
the vast
so they're not
majority
doing
of the
it.
paper is
So this is the
dedicated
part
to
we want to
looking
change.
at how
They're
So my
doing
thing
it
is that's what I'm
simultaneously.
saying. At
bias
each wheel, this is
in
being
their
applied.
findings.
So
They
like this
accounted for
takes
4
in
different
a
ways
wheel to
that
apply it,
their
and each
investigation into
wheel
this probability could be
is doing
unfair
4.
against Dream. And tried
Basically,
to
every force is
compensate
being applied at every wheel. So like, if I have a forward force, applied at that wheel. Lateral force, applied at that wheel. So everything with the end wheel. If we're casting a spring down, every wheel.
I don't think it's applying at the wheel. It is applying it at the rigid body of the car. They
But
do
at
a
that point
calculation
of the wheel. Like,
yeah, at that point of the wheel.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, that's the wheel. Like, this point, wherever this is that we put these 4 points, that's our wheel.
That's like the
the
force,
rigid
like,
body
like the point where the force is exerted. Wheels is still just a visual. It's not part of the rigid body.
Correct. These
basically,
red things are our wheel. Yes, I'm saying
basically
the
that
green point at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Is
and instead
where
of
the
doing
force
this,
is
we
being
want
applied.
we want a green point at the middle of the car, basically.
Yeah. I see. Like, that's where I don't
least
know.
we're
I'm
going
not
forward.
saying that with confidence, right? I think that's what we're saying we want, but we should try that to say, is that what works? Because what we want is the end result, and I think we know how to get there. Let's apply the forces where this should be. Let's make this consistent. But I mean, even one thing super simple in this that maybe we haven't tried is like, do we get a more stable vehicle if this is taller, like, and we have less wheel? Is that a more consistent shape that we should be building off
all
of?
the unknown aspects of
We
how
don't know.
Dream could have got this lucky.
But
I'm gonna have
shouldn't
video
these
to go
like
through all
parameter changes
4 of
happen
those, so
after
I'm gonna look
we
mainly
figure out our system?
unlikely. And this is the
Like,
number.
'cause
No,
this is based on the
as
current
much
system.
in Dream's favor as possible.
I guess
By the way, if you're enjoying this video, my
Like,
book Humble Pie, When Math
if we
Goes
don't
Wrong in
figure
the
out
Real
this
World,
shape,
has
we're
just
still
come
gonna
out
have to
in
change the
paperback
shape.
in the US.
We
So
don't
it's full
know
of very
what
similar
what
stories.
effect
So
it
if you're
takes.
enjoying
Like,
this video,
we don't
I
know what
guarantee
shape
you'll
even
enjoy the book
changes
as
on our
well.
current
I will
system,
have more details
let alone our
about how
future
you can
system
get
that we
copies
don't know
with
what
a free
those
signed
changes
gift.
change.
And I'm doing
So,
an
like,
online
before
talk
we're
at
2
Harvard
changes
Bookstore
in,
on the 4th of Feb. All of that.
I'm trying to change one thing at a time. So
Now we need to move
apply the
on,
fourth
both
higher.
from
See what
Humble
that does.
Pie
One
and
change.
from the
Change back.
accusations against Dream.
Don't make
because
another
the
change.
PDF
Change
goes
back.
into incredible details about
Change
all
the
the
size.
other ways that
See
they
what
very
that does.
carefully
Change back.
calculated
Now
and up and
compare,
down in Dream's
right?
favor. And
Then-
my one criticism of their
yeah,
paper,
I think
they go into a level of technical
we could get in
detail
one
and
direction
language
really quick.
that's so dense.
But
the
it feels
result you
almost
get from that,
deliberately
though,
obtuse.
the result
I don't
you
think
get
it's
from that
malicious. I just think they were
is
so
also
worried
gonna
about
change.
people
When you
going through
change
their
the way
argument with a
force is
fine-tooth
calculated,
comb
then
that
you
they
have to run
overdid
this again.
the technical language and the details, and I don't think it's amazing math communication.
It just depends on what you want
So
to
we'll
learn.
put that aside
So
for
if you
now,
want to learn
and
how
we'll move
size
on to
affects
section
what we have
2,
right now,
Dream's
we have
response.
to change
Part
that.
2, the response.
If we start to change other
Dream
things,
responded
we
with
won't
both
learn
a
that.
video of their
We'll-
own
we'll
on
know
their
what size
channel,
changes on
and
the
their own
future thing,
19-page
but
PDF
is that future
full
thing
of mathematics.
like,
This
we don't
was
really have a
written
good
by
reference for that
anonymous
future thing other than a
astrophysicist
thing that had a different
who
math.
is apparently
So,
an expert
I'm more just
in
saying to generate as much
statistics.
comparisons
There
for
you
this
go.
exploratory
They are
phase.
based at an
And we change
online
things, change
science
it back,
consulting
change it,
company
and then learn,
who
and
Dream
then pick,
paid to write
and
this
then
mathematical
try to pick
report
the best
for them. And
with
before
more
they get into
options,
any of the
because in the
details,
past,
the one
we
important
kind of
thing
just
to note
build out of
is that they
necessity and
agree
time to rest.
on the
in my head, you gotta
headline
do this shit.
statistic,
This
the
is what I
naive
think.
calculation of
But
the probability
clearly
of
that's
getting
been
those
wrong
end
a lot of times.
trades and
So,
those
like, I wanna
blaze rods
try.
is a 1 in 2 times 10 to the 22 chance.
And learn.
That's the
Yeah.
hardcore maths. No one is arguing that. What everyone's arguing
But this branch
how you
is up.
compensate for all the other
Am I on
unknowns.
it?
How many
No.
live streams there are, how many people are playing the game, or how many things from the game you could choose to analyze. All of that
Can I look at
is
the
where
notes
this
that we have
lot of mathematical
one
working
more
out
time?
differs
I'm
from what
sorry,
the
I
mods
have
on
it.
speedrun.com did.
Uh,
And I'll be
yeah,
honest,
just get
I
some good
accused
physics.
the previous paper of being a bit obtuse. This one is
Looking at it right
basically it's maths chaff. Like it's terms I recognize and calculations that I'm familiar with, but the way it's put together is not nonsensical, but it's clearly just trying to pad together enough maths that a surface reading of it gives some
Okay.
element of doubt, a
Okay, yeah.
reasonable amount of
So,
doubt that
we
maybe
mentioned
Dream genuinely
gonna
got those
fake
results from a normal
suspension
version
system.
of Minecraft. So I'll give you 2 examples of what I mean. First of
We're
all,
gonna
there's a lot of
remove
stuff
it
in there, which is true, but you wonder why they've put it in. So here,
And
they
that's a
show that
purely
you can
visual thing.
change
That's
the
what we said, right?
expression from the original paper. You can rearrange
So we
it
need to get
using a
rid
thing
of
called the
this current
binomial
suspension
approximation.
system.
Don't get me wrong, big fan, but there's no reason why you would put that in the paper. That's just a step you would do when you're actually crunching the calculation. It's nothing to do with
Does
the
that
theory
make
of
our
the
vehicle
concept
more
that they're
stable
trying to
or
get
less
across.
stable? Is
Not
my
only
question. Because we're still using wheels, right? We're still gonna use wheel gliders. Getting rid of the suspension doesn't really make it more stable.
What do you think? First, before you tell me, you tell me what you think, because I think we can rethink it because it's not perfect. I think there are instances where we clip through the ground, so we're doing something wrong. It is very much physics-based. So either we need to turn those values up so that certain things don't happen, which is valid to me. We could turn our springs all the way up, add extra zeros, and then, hey, no more clipping. But that also introduces a new behavior and a new whole cycle of thinking that I'm like, maybe that shit is just flawed from Jump Street. And we can remove it and rethink it. So that's more the thought process. Now, does it make us more or less stable? The desire is stability.
Yes.
Number one, right? So we wouldn't make something less stable. But what do we do? That's literally the work right now that we're trying to figure out. So I don't exactly know. I have some ideas, right? center of mass. One example is like, hey, the Taro top car, I put the center of mass way low, and the shit never flips over now. It might also apply physics weird, so like we do need to just test our assumptions and be like, we're working in the right direction. That's why I'm like, oh, we have cars that, however flawed, right? These are our cars, and we have to make them better. Go.
Right.
Yeah. What are we gonna do? Well, I think we change all the fucking forces. I think okay, well, we have input. Let's change all the forces.
Mhm.
I don't know what else to do. Like, start over, and hopefully make it more stable.
So I think it's not unreasonable to take everything that we currently have, especially considering that we now know that for the most part, like, we can keep 4 wheels with 4 raycasts and all that shit. Let's take the current shape, the current everything, and let's start with something like center of mass, right? We can go through our order of importance, right? The first most important thing is that we can fly through the air and jump and shit like that, but we're not going to tip over, right? So that's like the first most important thing. So we should have a car that can drive and can like drive over shit and get into a bunch of different situations, but isn't going to necessarily tip over super easily, right? So what we should do is we take the existing driving controller, everything, all else being the same. We lower the center of mass as much as we can conceivably lower it, like without it breaking, basically. We start that as the maximum. We drive it. We just drive it off of shit. We should just, you know, use the sandbox that you have, or something that has a bunch of ramps and shit, and we just see what the fuck happens.
Yeah.
And then what we should do is, after we assess that, if we feel like, oh, it's not really tipping over, it's not really doing, you know, it's like, all right, it looks kind of stable. We then go to like friction and like all the other forces on the car and comment them out. So that we just, this car's fucking sliding and doing all this shit and seeing if that, if maybe our worldview is wrong because tipping is maybe somewhat dependent on friction or something like that. And then we just go through and we see how, we basically just need to identify how these like forces contribute to this car stability. And once we know that, once we know like how each force contributes to this car just remaining on its wheels in a bunch of different scenarios, then we just make a lot of notes of all those things, and then we can put it all back together, or like turn everything back on, and then start changing values and start with just more knowledge of exactly what everything does and how everything contributes in this current configuration. Again, not changing any logic, not changing anything about these cars yet.
So no code yet.
No code. Well, no changing code yet. Where we'll change values, maybe. Like we'll change values for sure. We'll change values. We'll change the position of things. We'll turn things off and on, maybe. Like we'll try that. We'll just see. We just need to understand everything that this current driving controller does, and like how it all contributes, and then we can get a better of idea if we can start adding things, changing things, standardizing things, making things constant. All that shit.
Right. Yeah, sounds good.
So I think what we need to do though is, KT, when you and I work through this, or when we work through this process period in general, every time we take a step forward, we need to make a note of it. So we need to make a note of exactly what observations we make, of what values we standardize and why. Like expected things, actual things. We just need to be really, really diligent about the notes we take so that we know exactly why we're doing things, what everything does, all the above.
Okay.
But I think we have a path. I think we have a plan.
Okay. Yeah. Also, a point that I want to make is for Rocket League, they don't have bumps.
No, they don't.
They're driving on the flat surface. Our car is pretty stable when it comes to driving on flat surfaces. What fucks us over is the bumps.
It's not entirely true, KT. They do technically have, like the boost spots.
Yeah, like the side of the map, you can drive up to it, and the car doesn't flip. If it flips, it flips back. Like that, is to me, like a logic that they have.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure
prevents
also
them
the
from
little
flipping.
the little things where you get boost from, like the little orbs. I don't think that's perfectly flat. But anyway, I get your point.
But isn't that consumable?
No. Like the little the thing it sits on. I think it's like a little. Lip.
It's like a ramp.
Yeah.
You kind of like fly off.
Yeah.
But they don't behave like SUVs or like
Right.
mountain
They don't
cars.
like bounce on the suspension.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah. Or if they do, it's
So-
very minimal, right? It's like they'll.
Yeah.
Because they do a little bit of bouncing, like visually, but again,
Yeah.
To your point though, KT,
So-
in actuality, we probably won't have that bounce is not on the rigid body. Again, we'd probably faking that suspension, like the visual side of it.
Only if we have a flat map like that. If we don't, if we have like these little bumps in our terrain,
Mhm.
not having suspension is gonna fuck us. Like it's gonna
Why?
absolutely demolish us.
Why?
Because every little bump okay, first of all, if we don't have suspension on the rigid body, it doesn't even go through bumps. The bump would just stop you from moving. Simple. Like it's like you don't cross.
You mean like if I was
Otherwise-
like like a character controller where I have to like step up over something, essentially.
Oh yeah, basically.
Okay, sure.
Like you don't have the ability to cross it anymore.
Yeah, got it.
And if you do, it's like a very stiff.
Yeah.
Sort of like moving a board across a bump.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
think about that.
Yeah, I get
that
it.
experience.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not pleasant.
Yeah.
So if we plan on having
It's pretty simple
you know,
fix to that
bumpy-
actually.
bumpy terrain, which is
You don't. Like Mario Kart, visually it looks bumpy, but on the underneath it's a basically a ramp that's like a triangular, like a smooth like ramp. Like you create an invisible
which
collider.
I
that
think should be what we aim for. We shouldn't be sending our players into the ramen bowl with all this like crazy bumps.
No.
Because it's just creating.
But those bumps can still visually be there, but invisibly, the actual collider is it's just we put a triangle that the car can get up, like can.
Yeah, that is fine.
Alright.
That is fine. It's just I'm just saying we need one or the other to cope with these things.
All right, makes sense.
So if we remove the suspension, which is perfectly I'm perfectly fine with it,
Mhm.
it will just mean that we can handle terrain, basically terrain driving, and that's like there's no turning back from that. Yeah. But if we keep the suspension, we might still be able to stabilize it in some way that will give us the freedom in the future to drive on terrains that is not perfectly flat.
Right.
It depends on what we want.
I mean, it's there. It's more, do you want to work on it? Because, like, if we remove it, it is a thing we don't think about in one way, and we have to adjust for in another way. Is that better for us? Like, I think that's the real determination. Because
I think to me it's
hard dampening and just have a better way to intelligently dampen or somehow, right? But where that system is kind of ass is when we take big jumps and we land. Like the force is so much that the springs don't act like, well, they do act like real car springs and they break. So like
all the time, yeah.
Yeah,
It's very
so like,
Yeah,
inconsistent.
KT, we could just have a vehicle, like, you know how a character controller has a lip? Like, where it
Yeah.
allows itself to, like, if it's an angle above, like, if it's an angle below 90 degrees, the character controller will just go up over it, you know? We could put that into the vehicle controller. You know? Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
I don't know, man. I
Okay.
know and I don't know. You know.
I think that's already there. The like slope limit.
Yeah, slope limit. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I know that about the character controller, but I don't know if we want that for the vehicle. It's so ass, man.
I mean, we have it already. So like to your point, we could take it away. We could replace it. Like I think these specific
Slope limit versus step offset. These are two different things. Sorry, this is what I meant.
Oh no, never mind. We have slope limit.
Yeah, slope limit is like what, basically how this can move up a certain thing, right? Slope limit is fine, and I think we could create that. Step offset is what you're really talking about, KT. To be honest,
I don't think we should ever have a step in our driving map. It's so bad.
Yeah, so we can just not ever
so
have
pointless.
steps. To be honest.
So it's either a slope
Yeah.
or it's flat.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool making that a rule, to be honest. I don't give a fuck.
Yep. That way, we won't need suspension, ever. Because if you think about it, suspension is to purely handle bumps. It has it serves no other implications. Because if we want to make this arcadey, like all the arcadey games, if you look at them, Mario Kart, shit like that, suspension is neglectable. Like they don't look like they suspend.
Yeah.
Which could be the case for us, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So to be honest, like, and I mean, we could have steps, but like, you're ever gonna go down them, you know? Like, we could just have like, you know, like if a fucking wall ends, you know, you're gonna fly off the one side, but like, you know, obviously, I'm not gonna be able to go up the one side, you know? And we just always make sure that we don't design maps in a way where we give you the illusion to think that you could do it.
Yeah.
Now the one downstream design decision that we need to be comfortable with is that you can no longer scale cars. I know you talked about that for a second, KT.
We don't have to. No.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Fuck it. All right. So
yeah, fuck it.
No suspension.
Maybe parts. Yeah.
We could have steps, to be honest, KT. Like, we could do this shit, but like, we would just put an invisible collider under it, you know? Like.
Yeah, sort of like how FPS games fake steps.
Yeah,
you know, like
that
to
shit,
prevent
you know,
tearing.
like, so we could still do it, you know. It's just like, yeah. So, all right, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. All right, we'll do some experiments and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Word.
Yeah, I think this part we can do separate. Like, we can just test different things, change stuff. What do you want to test?
Well, okay, tomorrow let's just start out with center of gravity first. Like,
or do you want to do it together?
Yeah,
do you
we
want
should
me
do it
to
together.
join you
Yeah,
multiplayer? I'll hop on your car and let's like try it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so we're gonna do this multiplayer and editor, like, and we'll shift that center of gravity, and I'll spawn new cars essentially.
Okay, how about this? I stay off the car, so I look at the car as like a, you know, third person perspective, and I look at how the car sort of behaves, and you be on the car driving, so you can see it from the driver perspective.
Okay.
And
Works for
we
me.
try out different values.
Yeah, works for me. We'll start with center of gravity, and then I think we can move to things like friction. We'll start with center of gravity, and then we'll move to the other update like methods. I think it's like update friction, update suspension, update, and we'll just turn those off and on, and we'll like zero things out. We'll just experiment a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. Lovely.
I think the general approach that we are aiming for is like there. It's like we have this fake visual that calculates physics, sort of like how the wheels are functioning right now. Like if you look at the wheels of our current car controller, that's basically the fake collider. So it touches the ground, you know, it does this friction, and then it passes it to the rigid body. That's what it's doing. So we're gonna have a whole other body that does that.
Need to know how to turn everyone into puppets in
And
the
I think
Spoiler
it's gonna be
alert.
interesting.
After defeating Simon Manus, ride the elevator to the bottom of
So
the
we
tower
really
and
like
find Geppetto in the
we
middle. Geppetto will ask P
turn
if he
this
wants to
rigid main rigid body down to its very basic version. As long as it doesn't flip, as long as it drives stably, like we keep that. No crazy behavior.
Instead, continue
That's
your
all we
current run so you could come back to Hotel Krat. Once in Hotel Krat, go to the piano, play the perfect tune, and get the achievement Pianist of Krat. Wait for the cutscene to end,
Sounds like we
move
have
to
a
the
plan.
NPC areas, and you'll notice that they've all turned into puppets.
Yeah, sounds
Best
good.
Part, they call P Carlo in reference to Carlo.
Dope.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, sweet. I think I'm ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll watch the rest of the video in case it's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, we'll get rolling.
Yeah.
First thing tomorrow.
The Saints Row's one is helpful for kind of the framework for how we should iterate this. They do a lot about like how to do feedback and how to change things, and so that one's really good.
Yeah. Well, we also have our own pace, which is good too.
Yeah.
I feel like the way we work is, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just good input, you know.
Yeah. When the team gets bigger, though, that might be helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wicked. So yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. We'll just take it step by step.
Right.
Okay.
All right, y'all.
Sweet. Good work. I will.
Great work.
I'll catch you homies tomorrow.
All right. Catch you tomorrow.
All right, dude. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
See who's on Twitch real quick. All right, I'll get the. Deuces.